So we shall also look at this particular debate that is ongoing with the legislators and how it is bound to affect the counties as well, and a raft of other issues as far as the economy is concerned. But let's see what is fresh off the press this morning. We begin with the bold paper. This is a Standard. I was paid 400 million shillings because I'm smart. Right? He has the chops, and this is the former chair of Safaricom, John Ngumi. And more questions are being asked here. The mystery surrounding the rushed 6 billion shillings payment to a UK company by the Treasury for control of Telecom Kenya just days before last year's polls deepens as President Uhuru Kenyatta's ally John Ngumi reveals that the venture capital firm was willing to take partial payment. Here are some of the statements they made. We have Kuria Kimani, who is the National Assembly Finance Committee chairman, saying, what is it that you exactly did that warranted such kind of payment? Don't you think you were paid a lot of money belonging to taxpayers? Also, deep inside your heart, do you think the money is commensurate with what you did? 6.1 billion shillings, that is the amount that Treasury paid Helios investors for 60% stake of Telecom Kenya without parliamentary approval. And that is a story that you can follow inside the Standard today. Of course, we'll run you by some of the deliberations yesterday at or during the proceedings with the committee where John Ngumi was appearing. Road accident shock for drivers in tough rules to protect students. Shock for drivers in tough rules to protect students. The Ministry of Transport has now come up with new measures on how to curb the road carnage that now is rising in the country. Looking on top here, we have the flagger, or the teaser I should say. Ruto Raila MPs close ranks on bipartisan talks. Ministry freezes projects because of cash. And also inside, crisis in Sudan. You'll find all that laid out for you inside, crisis in Sudan. It's Kipruto versus Bekele at London race. And everyone is keeping their eyes peeled to see how that will pan out. Real Estate Magazine comes in handy for you every Thursday. You can read all about how the property and the real investment is panning out in the country. Daily Nation is up next. Cheap unga puzzle. That is what is hogging the front page of the Daily Nation. Cost of living. Many retailers are still stuck with expensive stocks and are reluctant to cut prices. Ugali lovers across the country will have to wait a little longer to enjoy the cheap maize flour that President William Ruto promised will hit retail shelves this week. Days after this announcement, a spot check by Nation reveals the prices remain unchanged for most of the brands, except for those of one miller. Where is a cheap unga? That is their budding question. And the story continues on page 6 of the Daily Nation this morning. Tough new rules to boost safety in schools. Members of Parliament have demanded the establishment of clinics with at least one nurse in all public schools, and inspection of food by health officials. The lawmakers were discussing the deaths of 3 students and a teacher at Sacred Heart Mukumo Girls High School in Kakamega County, with authorities blaming it on food poisoning. They have also called on food handlers in all schools to undergo training and ensure that they are disease-free before handling food to be taken by the learners. This story continues on the back page of the Daily Nation this morning. KRA to operate 24-hour shifts at port to end cargo clearance delays. And Justice Babu Owino has a case to answer over DJ Evolve shooting. Court rules. You can follow the story on page 2 of the Daily Nation. Looking at the teaser on top here, all drivers set for refresher test. Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen announces new measures to curb road crashes, including mandatory driving retests and medical fitness test for drivers, fitting of speed limiters, and vetting of all public service vehicles across the country. This story continues on page 10 of the Daily Nation this morning. Also, Ruto Raila teams laid the ground for bipartisan talks. Team allied to President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga struck a last-minute deal, I should say, yesterday to hold the inaugural meeting of the Bipartisan Joint Committee. This is the Daily Nation. This is how it looks. We have the Star up next. Truce, Ruto and Raila brigades agreed to talks last minute to meet today to iron out preliminary issues. That is what the flagger is reading here. The issue of inclusion of MP Kenan in panel remains unresolved. You can follow the story on page 6 of the Star. KDF repels Eastern DRC rebels. Peace a priceless treasure. And you can see an insert here of KDF soldiers spending some time with children at Kibumba 2 area in Goma. There is a revenue debate I was talking about. President William Ruto can be seen here when he hosted iftar dinner at State House, Nairobi on April the 11th. Also, DM leader Raila Odinga during iftar dinner at Crown Plaza in Nairobi on Tuesday evening. Azimio Kenya Kwanza clash over county cash. President Ruto and Raila Odinga's Senate teams have bitterly clashed as the debate on cash to counties took a political turn. The camps are split, with Ruto's men pushing for 385.4 billion shillings. That is a correct figure. While Raila's allies are demanding 407 billion shillings in equitable share for the devolved units in the next fiscal year. Kenya Kwanza senators argued it would be unrealistic to allocate counties 407 billion shillings amid cash flow challenges. We will follow this story inside the Star this morning. Also, Kianda founder, this is Angeles, fell in love with Kenya. Read all about how she came to the country and established, of course, the Kianda schools or group of schools as well and colleges. You can follow the story inside the Star. Dr. Mwende covers 7.4 kilometers at Mount Everest on day 2 of climb. This is the first Kenyan lady, or the first Kenyan who is attempting to climb Mount Everest. Faith Mwende, you can read all about her inside the Star this morning. Let's move on to see what we have on the front page of the People Daily. Hops as Ruto Raila teams begin talks. Hops as Ruto Raila teams begin talks. Diplomacy, Kenya Kwanza and Azimio delegates scheduled meetings to unlock stalemate over contentious issues raised by their principals in effort to prevent national crisis. And you can follow the story on page 4 of the People Daily this morning. Tough options for Ruto over Kibochi's successor. Delicate balancing act for president as he seeks heir to retiring military chief in the face of 2 choices and the Tonje rules. And we can see General Kibochi, who will be exiting soon. And this is now the headache of the president on whom is going to take over. CS issues measures to tame accident and legislators radical rules for schools. MPs proposed that institutions should have doctors for learners and the food supply chain controlled by the state. That's the People Daily. Taifa Leo, Uhuru kimya Ruto akitikisa Jubilee. Uhuru kimya Ruto akitikisa Jubilee is a splash. Utata waibuka kuhusu uamuzi wa jopo la kutatua mizozo ya vyama Kioni na Kega wakidai kuibuka washindi. You can follow that story inside the today's copy of Taifa Leo, where it's a relief now for Kioni, I should say, and Murade on their positions in the Jubilee Party, where the tribunal has made a ruling in their favor. This is Taifa Leo. Let's look what the teaser says on top. Wapi unga nafuu serikali iliahidi? Wapi unga nafuu serikali iliahidi? Swali nyeti that is being asked there on the front page of Taifa Leo. Let's buckle down to some business. Treasury cash data fails to reveal a broke government. Treasury cash data fails to reveal a broke government. State blamed March salary delays on debt repayment. March revenues up by 84.2 billion shillings as loans dues rose 54.6 billion shillings. This story continues inside the Business Daily this morning. And reach investors to buy extra shares without a CMA approval. Investors will be free to buy stakes of up to 30% in listed companies without the approval of the Capital Markets Authority, raising the thresholds for notifying the regulator of a potential takeover. You can follow the story on page 2 of the Business Daily. Also, state owes road contractors, landowners 145 billion shillings. The government owes road contractors and landowners 145 billion shillings in pending bills for certified works, adding to the working capital uncertainty for companies and timely delivery of ongoing projects around the country. Jubilee declares 870 million shillings dividend on the windfall from alliance deals. You can read all about that inside the Business Daily this morning. We cross over now to Uganda, where the story of the iron sheets continues. The evidence against Nandutu, fast and furious. Director of Public Prosecutions tabled 7 grounds and 21 documents as evidence to give State Minister for Karamoja Affairs, Agnes Nandutu, who becomes the first minister to be committed to trial, I should say, over mismanagement of iron sheets meant for Karamoja sub-region. Clamping on corruption, Museveni is coming down hard. And heavy fighting in Sudan blocks Ugandan's rescue. Heavy fighting in Sudan blocks Ugandan's rescue. And on a good note here, Ugandan scientists develop cancer detection machine. Uganda scientist develops cancer detection machine. You can read all about that inside the Daily Monitor if you're waking up in Uganda this morning. We cross over to Tanzania, where we have the Citizen. Moody's gives Tanzania favorable credit rating. Moody gives Tanzania a favorable credit rating. Also, Minister allays fears over safety of Tanzanians in conflict-hit Sudan. Government also mounts funds to ease state entities' capital wars. All that inside the Citizen. And Nimrod Mukono's legacy as seen by Zito Kabwe. You can read all about that inside the Citizen if you're waking up in Uganda, in Tanzania. Still in Tanzania, mzigo wa lawama wagusa mawaziri. Mzigo wa lawama wagusa mawaziri. Kusuasua kwa mashirika ya umma. Well, that is the Tanzanian tongue there, Swahili. You can read all about it inside Mwananchi if you're waking up in Tanzania. In Rwanda, inside Rwanda's plan to make avocado a major export crop. Inside Rwanda's plan to make avocado a major export crop. You can read all about it inside the New Times. Also, Gisimenti to operate as car-free zone once a month. EABC urges cost reduction of digital tax stamp. That is another story to want to follow inside the New Times if you're waking up in Rwanda. By the way, this week, this is what the East African has been holding as a splash: anatomy of graft, web of corruption, wastage and neglect in Tanzanian public sector agencies threatens to taint Samia's legacy ahead of the 2025 polls. But she has stepped up to slay the dragon. That is a story that you want to follow on page 4 and 5 of the East African this week. Also, citizens alarmed as region's government ran on empty. They're bracing for belt tightening as states cut spending and raise taxes amid funding squeeze blamed on date low revenues. You can read all about it inside the East African this morning. China Daily is up next. China, Gabon agree to bolster ties. Country's friendship built on rock-solid foundation, says Xi. And you can see an insert here of President Xi Jinping and his wife Peng Lingyan posing with Gabonese President Ali Bongo Ondimba and his wife Sylvia Bongo Ondimba before the two leaders talks at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing on Wednesday. You can read all about this inside the China Daily. Nation's space of recovery offers global inspiration. That is what we have there as well. Well, I shall be writing this on the split screen as we continue the conversation with our panelists who are joining us this morning.